Hey Trent, how you doing?
Good, yourself?
Oh, doing well. It's always great to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
Hey, thanks. You got some nice shoes on there.
These are
These old things?
these old things, year-old things.
Are they just like a cheap fake,
Uh,
or are they actually a good brand?
no, they're from India.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So, yeah, I mean,
Are Indians known for making shoes? I'm sorry, I don't know.
you can get anything like there. Like they have shoe markets. Like the first time I went and picked things out,
Mhm.
like I literally went in and it surprised me because like it seems like this tiny little mall and you go into each individual shop and like it's a shoe mall. So we're in there and I'm looking for, some loafers and I was like, yeah, I think I like these. And then the dude like disappeared for a second and I'm like, wait, where did he go? And the next thing I know, he's like coming out of the hole in the ground, popping up, like, "Boom, here's some more shoes. Here are more shoes. Try these 3 varieties." And I was like, where did they come from?
Were they ones not on display or something?
They were not fully on display. Yeah. They were
Huh.
like variants of what you could see. And they were like, surprise, we have these too. And I was like, oh.
So I'm just picturing like a huge warehouse in the back and a little tiny section up front where they just have a few shoes. Do you like any of these? Because we got a lot more.
Yeah,
that look
it's all
like that.
underground. They were
Yep.
like, boom, boom, boom. But no, it's cool. You can find like a lot of stuff there. You can get things just handmade for a lot better price. Your dollar goes a lot further in India.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that in a lot of places.
Yeah.
So right now,
Yeah.
so unfortunately, like we're kind of going through a transition right now, is what I'll call it. I think with our economy right now, we're trying to work on spending, but also try to increase the economy, which is difficult because we're pulling away from the public sector and trying
Yeah.
to give it back to the private sector, which I totally am all for. I think you
Power to
only
the
have
people.
a good economy if you have a good, strong private sector.
Mm-hmm.
But there's growing pains involved in that. So
Yeah.
yeah. Did you see the tariffs on recently with Canada?
Were they the ones? No, Canada's stuck, right? What were you
Well,
saying?
he put like 25% on something. I can't remember what. I think it was like metal or something. I can't remember. And then Canada came back and was like, fine, we'll put tariffs on your electricity, that we send to the northern part of those states and stuff. And Trump basically came back and was like, you do realize that if you put our people in danger, that's basically saying you're going to war with us. And so he's like, not only are we doing those original 25% tariffs on this, this, and this, we're doubling it to 50% on this, 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 this. And Canada came back yesterday and was like, we'll just go with the original tariffs. We'll take the original, the original tariff.
deal? Yeah. We like that one.
So, and he's like, we just need to we just need to work it out with our strongest allies and whatnot. And
I agree with you.
I agree too. And the thing is, like, we are already taxed the heck out of by Canada. Like the tariffs, they are only one way, And so, Trump said when he said he'll put tariffs on the automotive industry, on the Canadian automotive industry, and you will never sell another Canadian vehicle here in the United States, because that's where they, put together a lot of the, that's where a lot of the plants that the U.S. manufacturers, they have them in Canada and Mexico. That's where the vehicles are actually put together. And he's basically saying,
you'll never have another sale and from a Canadian manufacturer again. It's like,
but I mean, they caved in anyways. So I think he's making an example of Canada right now, and
to show what it's like to negotiate with the United States.
Right. Well, the fact is, like, he just wants everything to be fair, and he wants production to come back here. And if you're gonna tariff the heck out of us, like, there's something like 300% tariffs on milk and stuff from United States to Canada. And the deal was, okay, the Canada was like, we'll buy your milk, but we're going to put 300% tariffs on it. And the United States is, that's fine if you buy a certain amount. And they have not made that amount yet,
Ah.
that quota yet
So
at all.
not drinking enough milk up in
No,
Canada.
but we've been giving them that discount with the tariffs and the taxes and stuff. So it's like, hey, we've been living up to our end of the bargain, but you haven't on your
Yeah.
end. And so that was the other thing that Trump was like, listen, we're redoing these deals because they're not working out. You're not living up to your end of the bargain, and I am on ours.
Yeah.
But with that being said, like all these like tariffs and stuff, I did read something that basically said that I don't think we should see under 6% this year.
No.
Like, what do you think?
I know it's going to trickle down. I mean,
Yeah.
close to, it depends on how you structure it. You can get there, but does it make sense if we're going to see a little bit better rates in the future? It's always this balance of like, when do you pay to get the rate that you want? You're not going to have to do it for a while, not have to refinance.
Right. And that makes sense for anybody that, when you're looking to purchase, I mean, it's never the best time for anybody. I mean, you have to decide, hey, this works out for me. This monthly payment works.
Yes.
This,
that is the right time to buy.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you are ready to buy, you may as well purchase. But if you're not in that position, don't purchase,
Right. I was helping another member of the team structure a deal, and they were like, well, my client, they kind of have some charge-offs. They kind of have this going on. They need to get a gift for their down payment. And I'm like, and we couldn't get approval based on like the gift, but we could get approval if it was money they had in their own checking account. So the way the risk factors kind of work on, hey, this is risky, you're getting a gift. It probably says you're not ready to buy because you don't have your own money.
Right.
It's
a valid point.
Yeah.
It's a valid point.
You need a gift of 20 grand to close on a house? You're probably not ready to buy yet.
The thing is, a lot of people end up accepting gifts to help with closing costs or down payments and stuff like that too. And I completely agree. You're probably not ready to purchase or anything. But there is a decent amount that are just closing costs and stuff that if you get through that hurdle and you just have the monthly payments, might be just fine.
Willingness and ability to pay their bills is what it comes down to.
Right. But what they were seeing is just a little bit of inflation in February. And so they're just like, because when they dropped that half a point before, a lot of people were speculating before the election, people were speculating that they drop it too early. We were still seeing inflation at that time, and I think in hindsight, even then, you're just like, they're trying to win the election. They're trying to keep things down. They're trying to make the economy look okay and stuff. And so obviously, and hey, you know what? Going into the winter time, I was like, hey, I'll take a little bit of a discount.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then rates end up going up because
the
market
did. And I don't know if everybody understands how that works, but rates are based on speculation. And so in the market, if they speculate that it's going to drop, they're going to drop their rates ahead of time. And then if it does drop, they adjust. But then the problem is if it doesn't drop as much as they thought, or the effect isn't the same, or something happens within there, then it goes back up. And what happened with that half a point is it ended up going back up just a little bit. They over speculated. And it was a decent drop. It was a bigger drop than what I think most people were saying. I mean, I was saying, I heard a lot of people were saying a quarter,
Yeah, and they came out half.
Yeah. And so,
nice.
And then it just still went up.
Yeah, but then all the other reports, like all those like your inflation reports came out unpositive. So like, that kind of like negated it all out too.
Right. And at the time, I mean, we had just mentioned it, like private and public sector, but the public sector jobs there was a lot of public sector jobs at that time, and it made the job report seem like everybody was employed, everything was good, but it's government bloat.
Yep.
So it's never good when so much of the workforce is government employed, because the government isn't very fiscally responsible, and it doesn't create its own money besides what it has to do when it does want to create its own money, which is either tax or manipulate the money, print money.
Isn't there issues too where like I feel like it's yearly, or maybe it's, I don't know, semi-annually at this point, that I hear the government's shutting down? You know? I never hear like about like a business shutting down because they couldn't get their budget in line for like a couple weeks.
They don't have those choices.
They just stay open. We got to keep working, guys. Right. The government, we can shut down for a little bit.
Yeah. And then, I mean, just all the bailouts and everything is just crazy. Because if you think about all the bank bailouts of 2007, 2008, and they basically, what they did, when Bush started and then it went into Obama, but both of them, they basically put Vanguard and BlackRock and all these businesses. Somebody had to bail us out. Somebody had to buy these properties.
Mm-hmm.
So they put these companies up. The government put these companies up
Yep.
to make these purchases and keep the economy somewhat rolling. And what happens is now you got, 3 companies worth, $21 trillion or whatever, basically what the United States is worth,
Right.
So, and that was a huge issue back then. And you could almost see it now, like a little bit in the fact that I noticed lately big corporations eating up big corporations. Zillow bought Follow Up Boss. Follow Up Boss is one of the biggest CRMs out there.
Yeah.
Zillow wants to work a lot in-house, and so they're going to pick up their own CRM, one of the best ones out there, and they want to integrate and have it work better together. Zillow's the number 1 search engine out there.
Yeah.
The number 1 brokerage search engine, which is Redfin, they just got purchased by Rocket Mortgage, by the Rocket companies.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. And so
That's for
Redfin,
us.
they came out in 2004 and they were supposed to change the industry. They were like in 2015, they started coming out with the model of the discount brokerage where they charge a lot less, the 1%, the, pay for what you want, type of scheme. Yeah, it's like that menu. You go on their way, and everybody was like, "Was this going to change the industry?" And it turned out that people are not as successful selling their own houses as they thought. And when you do that Redfin model, you still have to sell your own house.
Yeah.
Like you're getting all the calls, you're getting all the, and then you're all the
1%,
negotiations, and exactly,
You say 1%.
And then you're having to deal with the sharks, and it's like you may as well. I would think just pay an extra 1 or 1.5 or whatever percentage just to get that person knows what the heck they're doing. The negotiate. You're going to get that.
Difference.
Yeah, you're going to get the money back on the negotiations and and everything. So, and I think a lot of for sale by owners that happens to. That's why so many for sale by owners end up selling by a realtor in the end. It's because they go mad.
Yeah.
So with all the calls,
can you provide the sanity I need to sell this house?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But this so March 10th, the Detroit-based fintech platform consisting of mortgage, real estate, and personal finance businesses, the Rocket companies, announced it has entered into an agreement to purchase Redfin. So it was a few days ago. And Redfin, they say, is a leading digital real estate brokerage in an all-stock transaction for a value of $12.50 per Redfin share, or a $1.75 billion of equity value.
Wow.
I don't know if that's that big of a deal. Honestly, I'm not. Redfin just seems like it's going. I don't know. So Redfin, I will say, they've been a company since 2004, and they've adjusted their model of what they do time and time again. And now at this time, they're more of just an online brokerage.
Yeah.
But from the discount brokerages to they started doing that door opener thing that's really not panning out for them. Because nobody with a real estate license wants to be a door opener. And just.
Yeah, I talked to somebody one time. Yeah, it was weird because I part of what I did as like a loan officer to try and get some business. I open house hopped on like a couple of weekends. Just wanted to meet people who are out grinding. Hey, you want to say hi to some people?
Smart as a realtor to do that too.
Yeah, and I didn't know about the whole Redfin door opener thing. I went there and this guy's like, "Yeah, we can talk for a few minutes because I need some company." But he's like, "I'm not gonna be able to do anything for you. I'm basically here to just open the door. I get paid a flat fee to be here and be like, do you like this house?" And, and then otherwise, I say, "All right, great, you saw it." So it's just like, wow, all right.
So we showed somebody a house about a couple weeks ago that had seen a house before with a few other realtors, and until they sign an agreement with somebody, they're fair game.
Yeah.
And they were telling us about their situation with somebody, and that was, I don't think it was Redfin. I think it was a different one, a different company, but it was just a door opener.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying, the unfortunate part is you go there and then you're asking them questions and they don't care. They
No,
don't answer the questions. They
I got
don't,
paid anyway.
you're going to have to ask the agent, the company after you leave. And so basically you go see a house and then you have to go get the information on the house, rather than right there figuring out, hey, now that I'm thinking about it, I see the roof. What age is that? Oh, I see the AC. Let's figure this out. Is there anything you can look up about the community? Tell me this and that. I mean, when you're there with a buyer, usually they have a lot of questions that they didn't even think of that they'd have.
Right.
But you're there in the moment,
to take care of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
1%, remember?
1%. You're saving a little bit of money, and I don't think that really matters anymore. It obviously doesn't, because those 1% models aren't around anymore.
Yeah.
They're still like fairly around, but
Mhm.
even the ones like Open Door, that was like a discount brokerage.
Yeah.
They've gone into more of the we'll buy your house for cash model. And they've worked their way into, okay, we're more than just that. We'll work your way into like a different system and whatnot. So, anyways, I just don't, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know how big of deal that is, Rocket Mortgage buying them like that.
I don't know.
And Rocket Mortgage, no offense to them, but they're cubicle workers. So I recently had somebody, apply to them and was like, I'm so frustrated. I can't get a hold of them.
Can't get a hold of them. Or I've seen a lot of people get overpromised at the beginning. They're like, yeah, they're going to do this. And like, look at this rate and look at, this fees. And then I get a call when they're like a week from closing and their loan actually gets locked. And they're like, I now owe a bunch more money because they locked it. I'm like, I tried to tell you that that's notorious for what their model is, because they don't care. They're cubicle workers. They don't have the same compassion for service that like you and I do as the local business owners. We have a compassion for serving our clients and actually walking them through it, caring that they know the full transparency and what they're getting into to eliminate surprises.
Yeah. I mean, that is a big thing. It is, communication's a huge thing. And if you don't have somebody communicating with you, it's like, it's tough, and it's hard on the real estate end working with somebody, a lender like that, because you want to be able to get a hold of the lender anytime and even send texts or, and so, and you've sent an email, you want a response by the end of the day or something, but yeah, I mean, I'm not here to bash Rocket Mortgage. I just think that I just look at the industry and I see when you start seeing the acquisition of these large companies into these other companies, it's just like, what's going on here?
Yeah, what's going on? What's your advantage? And at the end of the day, though, too, I think that like there is so much business out there that let them do what they need to do. It's not like this merger is gonna like change the landscape and everything is gonna be red and there will be no space for any other colors. You're gonna have Redfin's red and Rocket Mortgage red, and that's it.
That's a good point. That's probably why they purchased them. They're like, we got the same color scheme going on. Wouldn't have to change much.
Yeah, they're probably sitting there checking the hex codes or whatever. They're like, ooh, we got the same red already set up. We're good to go.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, I don't think it's going to change much. Even the Zillow purchase of Follow Up Boss, and we use Follow Up Boss.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything against Zillow either. Like, most people think that realtors hate Zillow. I'm annoyed with my MLS, because how it works with us is we get our listings, we get these agreements that we worked for, and then we pay our MLS to be able to list multiple listing service so that we could put it on there. And so we pay our MLS to use that service to put our listings that we worked hard for on there. And then our MLS sells out our listing to all these third-party sites and third-party vendors. And then these third-party sites and vendors get leads or get, and they don't typically work them themselves. They find realtors to sell them back to, or the listing agent to sell them back to get, and so it's one of those things for me. It's like, man, I worked so hard for this listing, and now you got all these people in the mix, they're just basically putting their hands in the pot to get money out. And I don't like the fact that I worked hard for this listing and then my MLS sells it to other people only for them to sell information back to us, as the agent. So that's the problem I have with it. But that's more or less an argument with my MLS than it is with Zillow. I mean, realistically, I'm thankful that Zillow, Realtor.com, all this, and Realtor.com was owned by realtors and then it was sold to a private company. So Realtor.com is not part of realtors. It's not part of, it is. And they shouldn't be able to even have that because it's our trademark and we pay to keep that trademark. It's a separate company now. But it used to be our MLS worked as a big national conglomerate and we had Realtor.com. And it made sense because all the different MLSs all over the United States would advertise on this Realtor.com. Plus, they would sell out to other third-party sites. But we had our own, website that we could push and funnel people to. So it'd always be like we always tell people go to Realtor.com, use Realtor.com. Now it's like don't use Realtor.com. They're the worst.
They're the worst.
They're the worst. So
after all these mergers and conglomerations, I'm worried you're going to tell me that Betty Crocker doesn't even bake.
We're going to take a time out right now. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how to tell Trent this. Yeah, I mean, no, but I mean it's the reality of how the system was developed or how it works now. So, but I do like to be thankful for keeping me in business, and I require that people use all those third-party sites and stuff to shop around, even though I have my own website and everything. It's hard for people to see my own website. We have to advertise and stuff. So
you only have a couple $1 billion for your own advertising, right?
Yeah, I'm right there.
Yeah, really close to these companies that can just push it and hit the SEO really hard.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, that's why like when you advertise on Facebook, if you're not doing thousands of dollars, your stuff really isn't going anywhere. They don't really care about you.
No, you're not hitting enough people that are going to click that turn into like viable things.
Right. And the people that spend thousands tend to keep spending thousands. The people that spend hundreds or just, $20 or whatever, they don't typically respend again. So what's the benefit of Facebook really to send you stuff or really advertise for you or make it worth it?
But I also think it's a consistency thing too, where people, they do it for like a month or so. They're not doing like the full 90 days to see like, is there actually something viable? Am I getting my money's worth? Where like maybe the $100, you may not get as many hits as somebody who's spending $1,000 a month.
Right.
But maybe if you work what you got for like the next 90 days, you would. But we're too much of a shiny object syndrome, marketplace now.
Yeah, no, you're right. And then people don't make adjustments. They're like, okay, this isn't working. How do I adjust this to make it work better? They're kind of just like, okay, it's just still not working. And then they'd rather just complain about it not working rather than, the adjustments.
100%.
So, and you hit it on the head. Consistency is a big thing. And I think, for lenders, I'm sure it's the same, very similar. But for realtors, what I see is everybody sees, oh, this person's making business doing this. This person's making business doing this. This person does this. And then they're like, well, I better do a little bit of everything to, so I could get the business of each little thing. But realistically, your best bet is consistency. Pick an avenue, pick a field, pick whatever you're doing and work towards that, work that direction.
Correct.
And only work that direction and keep working that direction.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like once you master something, there's no thing that says like, don't delve into something else.
Right.
Don't do this. And that's the thing too, like, especially with like new loan officers coming on, like my goal is if they need to build business, they don't have their own book. As team lead, I try to say, all right, well, we honestly do a little bit of the shotgun approach and just be like, hey, do a little bit of this, do a little of this, but you need to be consistent in all of them and then track your metrics. And then after 90 days, be like, I got business from Facebook, or I got business from cold calls, or I got business from doing organic events. Like, great. Now ignore the other ones for a while and just do this until you're the master of that, and you'll get all your business that way, and then you can go back and revisit these once you've freed up the time.
Right. And also being really good at something, you can start to, with that consistency, you can start to develop a little bit of money that you can put into other things,
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
like a PPC, you know, price per click type of deal or something. It's going to cost a little bit more money and it's not going to be quite as organic, but is also a great way to get leads. It's a supplementary way because you do want multiple ways to get leads or work with people or at least start a conversation. But you should really start out with, this is the direction I'm going with my business.
Yes.
You know, I work in short sales. That's what people know me as the pre-foreclosure short sale guy, you know? So I will get calls from people that are just like, hey, I heard you work in pre-foreclosures. I got this listing. I could use some help. And, you know, and then I get a lot of business just splitting deals with people because they know that I work in that realm. And it took me a long time, you know, but that's kind of what I'm known for. Yeah. So it's interesting. I didn't plan that. I wanted to be the luxury guy.
I feel like a lot of people want to be the luxury guy.
Yeah. But I don't dress luxury. I do a really good job. People are always like my wife, Jessica, she's always just like, I don't know how you talk to rich people, like just like they're normal people, like regular. And I'm like, but they're just normal people.
Are they not normal people?
Like I just don't feel like I should be putting anybody on a pedestal or anything. I need to treat anybody differently. And realistically, what I've noticed about rich people is they appreciate the grind and they want somebody that's going to do what they say they do and work extra hard for them. That's all they want.
Right. Well, because they did that to get to where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
I worked hard. I was consistent. I worked hard and I got to where I am because I worked hard. Yeah. Not because I flitted around and did 20 different things and then just finally, you know, magically made it that way.
Yeah. And I enjoy cold calling, and I've found that cold calling rich people is a lot easier than cold calling not rich people. And the reason being is for a few reasons. One, we just mentioned, they appreciate the grind. Sometimes I'll get in a conversation with this rich person and he's like, yeah, man, hey, like I talked to a guy a couple months ago. He's like, hey man, like he didn't give me any business or anything like that, but we got to talking and stuff. And he's like, man, just keep up the grind. He's like, I made all my money doing exactly what you're doing right now. He's like, you're going through the hard steps and stuff. Eventually it's going to pay off. You're going to get into a position where you're not doing that stuff anymore. He's like, but he's like, most people don't put themselves or don't put in the time, you know, don't put themselves in the position to get to where, you know, where he's at basically. So, but it was like, man, you can have such a great conversation. He really appreciates the grind.
Right.
You know?
And that's the thing too. I think that it's easier to talk to people who have business in a way, because sometimes if you're asking somebody talking a little bit of business, but they don't have any business, they get annoyed because they know in their heart they don't have any business. They're not, I'm not ready to buy, you know, but you know, the whole thing with like rich people, like, hey, I have, you know, I appreciate the grind. You're trying to work hard. But they also keep it short. You know, they're not going to be like, I have time to waste and just talk to you. They'll be like, let's keep it very concise, the conversation.
That's the other thing. They're not going to waste your time.
Yeah.
They're only going to look at houses that they want to see, that they know that, hey, this has a chance.
Yes.
You know, they're only going to be like, okay, I'm already pre-approved, or I already know I can purchase. They're just, they don't want to waste their time, and they don't want to waste your time. Sometimes, and I'm not putting down people, you know, that don't have money or anything, but they're learning through the process, and they're wasting a lot of energy and time in that process. And you try to talk to them and stuff and tell them, hey, this is the best way to do this. Hey, we need to get to pre-approved. Hey, we shouldn't shop until we know exactly what, you know, our high spend is, so that we know we're keeping it within your monthly payment means and everything. Otherwise, what's the point?
What is,
you know? So yeah, that is so. But anyways, I could just keep talking. This is like a good one. We're gonna call this one the Rocket Mortgage episode. I'm about to sneeze.
Spicy.
I know, right? Empires gonna be jealous. So, anyways, appreciate you, Trent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and good seeing you. I appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you in the next video.
See you in the next one.